I am back with another book haul. So I literally just picked up these packages from my mailroom. I haven't opened anything yet. Obviously, I know what I ordered, kinda. I already forgot, if I'm being honest. I literally went on Barnes & Noble. They have like a summer reading category. I ordered a bunch of books from that category, but then I also ordered a bunch of books that you guys have recommended to me. So let's cut these open and see what these books are. I need new scissors. Oh, there's 2 books in here. Oh, speaking of recommendations, one of you guys recommended this book, Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata. I hope that's how you pronounce it. I didn't realize it was such a short book, actually. And it's so small. It's so cute. An international sensation that has sold more than 1 million copies in Japan and was named a Best Book of the Year by US publications from BuzzFeed to The New Yorker, Convenience Store Woman is the charming and unforgettable story of Tokyo sales clerk Keiko. I should have Googled these names. Keiko is an unusual person, someone who has never fit in, but when she takes a job at a Smile Mart, she finally finds peace and purpose in her daily tasks, but there is a huge pressure on her to pursue a career, to find a husband, and she feels forced to take desperate action in order to please the people around her instead of herself. Is there room in this normal world for someone as strange as Keiko? This was giving me the Kiss Quilton vibes, so as soon as one of you guys recommended it and I looked up what it was about, I purchased it immediately, so I'm super excited to read this. This is going to be such a quick read. I didn't realize it was so short. The second book that I picked up is Second First Impressions by Sally Thorne. This is the author who wrote The Hating Game. When I saw that this book was also from her, I decided to give it a try. It sounds like it's going to be such a cute little rom-com, so I'm super excited. And the cover is so pretty. I just love the lavender background. This one basically follows Ruthie Madonna has worked the front desk at Providence Retirement Villa for years, living on site at the beck and call of the wealthy residents and the rare tortoises that roam the manicured lawns. She has a routine and not much ever changes until she lays eyes on Teddy, the son of Providence's new owner and her new neighbor. Tall, tattooed, and with the most magical hair on earth, Teddy's in town saving up money to pursue his dream of opening a tattoo shop. He's the definition of risky, and Ruthie's dazzled at first sight until he mistakes her for a little old lady. When I read that part, I was like, no. How does he mistake this woman as an old lady? I can't wait to read to find out. That alone, oh my god, that alone is just going to be such a funny little revelation. Luckily, Ruthie has the perfect revenge for Teddy's insulting first impression. Her most eccentric residents have just placed yet another ad seeking a personal assistant to torment. The Parlonis are 90-year-old miniature menaces, and not one of their assistants has lasted a week. Ruthie knows a quitter when she sees one and is more than happy to offer up Teddy. To Ruthie's surprise, Teddy proves to be the ultimate hire, charming his way through the entire villa and into her heart with his joyful, never serious outlook on life. But with the future of Providence hanging in the balance and Teddy's family plans threatening to shatter Ruthie's safe little universe, will Teddy be there when it really counts? Doesn't that sound so adorable? Like, I can't wait to read this. Emily Henry, author of Beach Read, goes, Second First Impressions is the warmest, coziest, sweetest book of the year. This is going to be such a feel-good book. I already know it. Let's continue. Oh my gosh, speaking of the Kiss Quilton, actually, scratch that. I'm going to talk about this book last because there's another book that goes with this one and I want to talk about it as a series. I'll get back to that book. The next book that I picked up is The Ex Talk by Rachel Lynn Solomon. This was actually one of the books that I saw on the Barnes & Noble website under the summer reading category. I haven't really seen a lot of people talk about this book, but the synopsis had me intrigued, and I feel like I've watched a movie with a very similar premise as this book. I don't know if the movie was based off on this book, but this book sounds oddly familiar to me. I don't think I've ever read it, but maybe I've read something very close to it. And the summary on the back goes, Shay Goldstein has been a producer at her Seattle public radio station for nearly a decade, and she can't imagine working anywhere else. But lately it's been a constant clash between her and her newest colleague, Dominic, who's fresh off a journalism master's program and convinced he knows everything about public radio. When the struggling station production needs a new concept, Shay proposes a show that her boss greenlights with excitement. On the Axe Talk, two axes will deliver relationship advice live on air. Their boss decides Shay and Dominic are the perfect co-hosts, given how much they already despise each other. Neither loves the idea of lying to listeners, but it's this or unemployment. Their audience gets invested fast, and it's not long before the Axe Talk becomes a must-listen in Seattle. Why did my voice do that? Sorry, you guys. I'm still recovering from the flu, so I feel like my voice is not all the way there yet. I don't know why it went so high. Their audience gets invested fast, and it's not long before the Axe Talk becomes a must-listen in Seattle and climbs podcast charts. As the show gets bigger, so does their deception, especially when Shay and Dominic start to fall for each other. In an industry that values truth, getting caught could mean the end of more than just their careers. I feel like I'm going to love this book. This just sounds like it's going to be such a fun ride, and I can't wait to get on the ride. I am so excited to read this book. Let me know in the comments below if you have read this book. Again, I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about it, and I haven't really seen it. Is it old? Let me see. When did this come out? Maybe I'm just delayed. Oh no, this came out last year, January of 2021. So I'm not that behind. Just over a year. Now I have a whole box. I'm always so confused on how Amazon fits all these books into a tiny box. I'm always scared that my covers are going to come bent, but 9 out of 10 times my books are undamaged from Amazon. That's how they packed it today. Okay, I have quite a bit of books to get through, guys. Don't be fooled by a small, tiny little box. The first book in the pile. Wow, this is really small. Hold on. I was not expecting this. Oh no, my cover. I was just talking about how my cover is never messed up, but this cover is actually dirty. I jinxed myself. Great. Whatever. This is A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I recently finished A Court of Wings and Ruin, and I absolutely love that book. I felt like Feyre's and Rhys's story was tied up perfectly in that book, so I wasn't really sure if I wanted to pick up this book, but honestly I hate finishing series halfway, so I decided to pick this one up, and I guess I'm happy because it's so short. Like, what could this possibly add to the series? Like, you guys don't understand. If you're not familiar with the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, like, look how thick these books are. These are some thick books. And then there's this one. Not thick at all. So I guess this one is like a novella. I'm shocked that this is so thin. I'm not going to tell you guys what this book is about because I don't want to ruin the other books in this series for you. So if you haven't read A Court of Thorns and Roses, all I have to tell you is go read it. Absolutely loved this series. It definitely got me into fantasy, and I appreciate fantasy a lot more. Before I started reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, I honestly was so against fantasy. I thought fantasy was so stupid. I'm sorry, but I did. And this series, it definitely changed my mind. I didn't think I was going to be into like fairies and beasts and all of that, but I'm weirdly into it. And Sarah J. Maas, I feel like, does such a good job with the fantasy genre that I don't feel weird reading about fairies and wolves and beasts and all of that, you know? Does that make sense? I highly recommend A Court of Thorns and Roses if you're new to the fantasy genre or you want to dip your toes into the fantasy genre. I think it's a great series to start with, and I absolutely loved every second that I was reading it. And despite it being so long, I can see myself totally reading it all over again. That's just how much I loved it. Moving on, we have Every Summer After by Carly Fortune. I was very hesitant on picking this book up because a lot of people compare this book to Love in Other Words, and I was not the biggest fan of Love in Other Words. I'm not a huge fan of the friends to lovers trope. It has to be done right, because if the characters are whiny, I'm just not into it and it pisses me off like no other. So I really hope that the main characters in this book are not whiny. The synopsis makes it seem very similar to Love in Other Words, but it goes, they say you can never go home again. And for Persephone Fraser, ever since she made the biggest mistake of her life a decade ago, that has felt too true. Instead Instead of spending glittering summers on the lakeshore of her childhood, she stays home in a stylish apartment in the city, keeping everyone a safe distance from her heart. Until she receives the call that sends her racing back to Barry's Bay and into the orbit of Sam Florrick, the man she never thought she'd have to live without. For 6 summers, through hazy afternoons on the water and warm summer nights, working in his family's restaurant, Percy and Sam had been inseparable. Eventually, that friendship turned into something more before it fell spectacularly apart. When Percy returns to the lake for Sam's mother's funeral, their connection is as undeniable as it has always been. But until Percy can confront the decision she made, they'll never know whether their love is bigger than the biggest mistakes of their past. Told over the course of 6 years in one weekend, Every Summer After is a gorgeously nostalgic look at love and the people and choices that mark us forever. One of the main reasons I picked up this book was because it takes place in the summer, and I wanted to pick up books that give me that summertime vibe, those good summertime feelings. So that's the main reason I picked up this book, and I'm trying so hard to go into this book with zero expectations. I'm hoping for the best. I really hope it's a good book and that I enjoy the characters. It doesn't seem super long, so hopefully it's a quick read. Another book that I picked up that gives me that summertime vibe, actually I don't even know if this takes place in the summer. Honestly, the cover makes me think of summer, so maybe it takes place in the summer, I don't know. But this is Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens, and the movie based on this book is actually coming out very soon. I think it comes out in July, if I'm not mistaken. I really want to see it. It sounds like it's going to be such a good movie, but before I watched the movie, I wanted to read the book, so hence why I got this. This one goes, for years, rumors of the Marsh Girl have haunted Barkley Cove, a quiet town of the North Carolina coast. So in late 1969, when handsome Chase Andrews is found dead, the locals immediately suspect Kaya Clark, the so-called Marsh Girl. But Kaya is not what they say. Sensitive and intelligent, she has survived for years alone in the marsh that she calls home, finding friends in the goals and lessons in the sand. That is so sad. Then the time comes when she yearns to be touched and loved. When 2 young men from town become intrigued by her wild beauty, Kaya opens herself to a new life until the unthinkable happens. I don't know, I feel like I'm going to really enjoy this book. I don't know why. I feel like it's calling to me. I'm really excited for this one. I'm excited for every book, honestly. If you have been keeping up with my videos, then you know that I recently read Book Lovers by Emily Henry. That book was a 4 out of 5 star read for me. I love the main character, Nora. The side characters fell a little flat for me, but Nora really made that book for me, and I just enjoyed the writing and the comedy, the romance, everything, and I can see why people had issues with Book Lovers. If you're expecting a straight romance book, then Book Lovers is definitely not going to give you that vibe, but it's not going to give you what you need. But if you go into it thinking it's just going to be about the main character Nora and her character growth, then I think you'll enjoy it for what it is. So with that being said, I did pick up 2 more books by Emily Henry. These are her 2 more popular books. They've been out for a hot minute, but I'm just now getting around to reading them. The first book is Beach Read. The second book is People We Meet on Vacation. So you guys probably already know what these 2 books are about, but in case you don't know what neither of them are about, and if you've never heard of Emily Henry before, let me enlighten you a little bit. Beach Read is about Augustus Everett is an acclaimed author of literary fiction. January Andrews writes best-selling romance. When she pens A Happily Ever After, he kills off his entire cast. They're polar opposites. In fact, the only thing they have in common is that for the next 3 months, they're living in neighboring beach houses, broke and bogged down with writer's block. Then one hazy evening, one thing leads to another, and they strike a deal designed to force them out of their creative rut. Augustus will spend the summer writing something happy, and January will pen the next great American novel. She'll take him on field trips worthy of any rom-com montage, and he'll take her to interview surviving members of a backwoods death cult. Obviously, everyone will finish a book and no one will fall in love. Really. Now for People We Meet on Vacation. Poppy and Alex and Poppy. They have nothing in common. She's a wild child. He wears khakis. And somehow, ever since a fateful car share home from college many years ago, they are the very best of friends. For most of the year, they live far apart. She's in New York City and he's in their small hometown. But every summer for a decade, they have taken one glorious week of vacation together. Until 2 years ago when they ruined everything. They haven't spoken since. Poppy has everything she should want, but she's stuck in a rut. When someone asks when she was last truly happy, she knows without a doubt that it was on that ill-fated final trip with Alex. And so she decides decides to convince her best friend to take one more vacation together, lay everything on the table, make it all right. Miraculously, he agrees. Now she has a week to fix everything, if only she can get around the one big truth that has always stood quietly in the middle of their seemingly perfect relationship. What could possibly go wrong? Again, I've heard very mixed reviews on these two books. I feel like some people either love or hate one or the other. It's very rare when one of you guys tell me that you loved both. We shall see. The next book that I picked up is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This is a book that I've been wanting to pick up for a hot minute. I've seen it in Barnes & Noble a million times. Literally every time I go to Barnes & Noble, I pick it up, then I put it back down. I don't know why, so I decided to finally pick it up on Amazon and give it a chance. And it seemed like such a cute little rom-com, so why not? This is a special edition. Wonder why. The friend zone is not the end zone for Bree, who is helplessly in love with her longtime best friend and extremely hot NFL legend Nathan. The only problem is that she can't admit her true feelings because he clearly sees her as a best friend with no romantic potential, and the last thing Bree wants is to ruin the relationship. But those abs. In any case, she has other things to worry about. After a car accident and her chance at becoming a professional ballerina, Bree changed paths and now owns her own dance studio with big dreams to expand it. But one more rent increase could mean the end of the studio entirely. Then, as usual, Nathan comes to the rescue, buying the entire building. A stubborn Bree is not happy about it and decides to rebel with a couple, okay, maybe more than a couple of tequila shots. Then her plan backfires as she spills her deepest, darkest secret to a TMZ reporter. One viral video later, the world thinks that Nathan and Bree are the perfect couple. Before they can really talk about her confession, Nathan's publicist proposes a big opportunity that could mean financial security for Bree. The catch? They have to pretend to be in love for 3 whole weeks. What will happen when Bree gives in to the feelings she's been desperately hiding for so long? And could she be imagining that Nathan is actually enjoying it? Sarah Adams scores more than touchdowns in this exciting friends to lovers romantic comedy. So I really enjoy friends to lovers when it's mixed in with fake dating. I have a feeling I'm going to love this book. I haven't really read many books where the romance is mixed in with a sport. I think this is going to be such a cute little rom-com, a fake date scenario, and I can't wait. I feel like I can read the jokes already. One of you guys actually recommended this next book to me. It's A Proposal They Can't Refuse by Natalie Ganya. I read the first sentence on the back cover and I was sold because the main character is actually Puerto Rican. I'm Puerto Rican, so I was like, you know what? I need to read this book. Let me tell you what this book is about. Camila is desperate to convince her family to update their Puerto Rican restaurant and enter it into the fall foodie tour. The fly in her mofongo, her black Melanie Abuelo, says if she wants to change anything in his restaurant, she'll have to marry the one man she can't stand, his best friend's grandson. Why? This is the first time I'm reading the synopsis, so I'm just as confused as you guys probably are. Liam Kane spent a decade working to turn his family's distillery into a contender, but just as he and his grandfather are on the verge of winning a national competition, Granda hits him with a 1-2 punch. He has cancer and has his heart set on seeing Liam married before it's too late, and Granda knows just the girl, Camila Vega. If they refuse, their grandfathers will sell the building that houses both their businesses. With their future on the line, Camila and Liam plan to outfox the devious duo, faking an engagement until they both get what they want. But soon they find themselves tangled up in more than either of them bargained for. So another fake dating scenario that I'm here for. I mean, to be fair, the grandparents sound a little manipulative, you know, but that's okay. We're going to look past that. This is the first book by Natalie Ganya, so I'm excited to support her and see what her writing is about. So I'll definitely give you guys an update once I read that book. Back to the book that I mentioned briefly at the beginning of this video, and it's The Heart Principle. I wanted to hold off on talking about this book because this is actually the 3rd book in the series that I'm going to mention in just a second, and this is the 2nd book. So the first book of the series is The Kiss Quoten, which I actually have and I read. All 3 books are from Helen Huang. I fell in love with The Kiss Quoten. Honestly, this was a 5-star read for me. I thought it was such a cute read, and I love that the main character was autistic in this book. I absolutely fell in love with Stella, and the author is actually on the spectrum herself, so she kind of writes from her own personal experiences, so I really enjoyed reading this book for that reason. And then of course, when I saw that it was actually a part of a series, I decided to pick up the other 2 books. So the 2nd book in the series is The Bright Test, and this one follows a character that was actually introduced very briefly in The Kiss quote in, and it goes, Kai has no feelings. Well, he feels irritation when people move his things or contentment when ledgers balance down to the penny, but he doesn't experience big important emotions like love and grief. Rather than believing he processes emotions differently due to being autistic, he concludes that he's defective and decides to avoid romantic relationships. So his mother, driven to desperation, takes matters into her own hands and returns to Vietnam to find him the perfect male older bride. As a mixed race girl living in the slums, Esme Tran has always felt out of place. When the opportunity to marry an American arises, she leaps at it, thinking that it could be the break her family needs. Seducing Kai, however, doesn't go as planned. Esme's lessons in love seems to be working, but only on herself. She's hopelessly smitten with a man who believes he can never return her affection. Esme must convince Kai that there is more than one way to love, and Kai must figure out the inner workings of his heart before Esme goes home and is an ocean away. Doesn't that sound so cute? The third book in the series is the book that I first pulled out. This is The Heart Principle. This one is about when violinist Anna Sun accidentally achieves career success. With a viral YouTube video, she finds herself incapacitated and burned out from her attempts to replicate that moment. No mama, my cat's eating the paper. And when her longtime boyfriend announces that he wants an open relationship before making a final commitment, douche, a hurt and angry Anna decides if he wants an open relationship, then she does too. Translation, she's going to embark on a string of one-night stands. The more unacceptable the men, the better. That's where tattoo motorcycle riding Quan comes in. Quan was actually introduced in the first book as well. The first attempt at a one-night stand fails, as does their second and the third, because being with Quan is more than sex. He accepts Anna on an unconditional level that she herself has just begun to understand. However, when tragedy strikes Anna's family, she takes on a role that she is ill-suited for. Anna and Quan have to fight for their chance at love, but to do that, they also have to fight for themselves. I just really love the kiss quoting, so I'm super excited to read the following two books in the series, and I'm definitely going to read them very soon, so I'll give you guys an update on what I think about them. But those are all of the books that I picked up. Let me know in the comments below if you have read any of them. Are any of these on your TBR? I would love to know. I'm super excited to read all of these books. I honestly thought I picked a more variety of books, but honestly 99.9% if not 100% of these books are all romance books. I guess I just really want to read rom-coms this summer. Either way, I really hope you guys enjoyed this book haul. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.